Hello, guys. Welcome. Welcome to another episode of Ripster Daily Trade Recaps and Teachings. All right, guys. Really nice day. Really nice day. Some of really nice breakouts. Market was still choppy, but we were able to get some really nice trades in. And of course, I talked about the cloud names yesterday and the SaaS and tech names, which were getting some rotation. So we're gonna talk about those as well today. Anyways, before I start, just a quick introduction. So anybody who's new to me, who's new to my Twitter, new to my YouTube, or new to my community, all these trade recaps and all these teachings are from our trades or the swing trades, day trades, investment trades, anything that we are doing. From either I'm sharing on Twitter or I'm sharing in the community or I share with you guys in the previous YouTube videos. So we try to see how are we making money, how are we losing money, what are our winning setups, what are our losing setups, and so that we can improve, learn, and journal our trades. So our trading, investing in stock market is based upon fixed setups, fixed system is how you trade, setups is what you trade. We do not trade random. We always trade this fixed system. Thousands of traders across the world use my system to trade consistently, and every morning me and my team are up. We make a game plan to trades for the day for the community. We make a game plan, and then this is the game plan for today. You see a bunch of there's news plays, there's earnings, there's upgrades, there's downgrades. So a bunch of these plays are there in addition to the game plan where we have a resistance pivot, support pivot, and our initial buys. And when market opens, we trade based upon that. In addition, we also trade what we call as our day 2 day 3 setups. We keep them on the watch, and I provide a day 2 day 3 list. It's a strategy that I built. I did a free webinar on this strategy in the past as well. So these are our day 2 day 3 setups today. You can pause the screen and take a look. And then of course we have the daily levels for SPY, QQQ, IWM, Apple, Wix, Microsoft. On a trend day, these levels really help us to trade long or short using our system, right? Ripster, EMA Clouds. So we use those to trade those setups. Then we also have crypto stocks, coin, MSTR. When Bitcoin is running, we try to find a trend based upon the support, resistance pivots, and EMA clouds. We try to trade them. So anyways, with all that done, in the morning we are ready, and I'm on the voice first few hours guiding the community through what the market is doing, what is a long, what is a short, what can you buy calls on, what can you buy puts on. So we try to go through our day, and so that's what we're going to discuss for today's trade. Most of my comments are in my alerts feed, where my comments are. I will show you my timestamp comments, but a lot of our trade ideas are on our trading floor as well, which consists of all our experienced traders, new traders sharing ideas, long, short. There's all day there is ideas to make money and have less risk, more reward kind of trade setups on our trading floor. So a lot of trade ideas are from there as well. So we are going to review all this and see how this worked out for us. We will review all the trades now. So let's start with the first play. All right, guys, the first play we're going to talk about is Meta. I don't remember if I discussed this chart in yesterday's video, but let me show you what was our plan on Meta. So as you see, the Meta was already on our watch, and it was a breakout setup. And we gave these levels on the breakout on the Meta in the daily level sheet. That was let's find out where the levels were. You're right here, 514, 75, 516. These were our breakout levels. And what was the breakout? Let's see, what was the breakout on Meta that we are talking about here? Why was it on my watch list today? Why was I watching it? The reason being this breakout, right? You see there's a downtrend line here, and you see there's this recent high. So this is a breakout setup. You can call it a range break, you can call it whatever, but it's usually a nice breakout setup, because even if I don't take this flag and this break of recent highs, so you can draw this, right? And this was a nice breakout setup for us here. So that's why it was on my watch, top watch this morning on our game plan. So let's see what was my guidance today on Meta. Let's go back. Let's see. All right. So I was watching all these plays in the pre-market. I told everybody Meta, Amazon, Tesla, high watches today. we will discuss Amazon in a minute, but the reason for the Meta I just showed you. So as soon as the market opened, I told them long setup, daily breakout, and there was actually an alert going in here. You see that? You see this daily breakout? So I set those alerts so my community knows that, and then I gave them the alert, and then our targets were 520, and once it started to push in, amateur move, then stops, break even. Next target was 522. I told everybody to leave 1/3, but then it started to pull back. So when it pulls back, you have to make a decision that where do you want to cut it, right? If this 512 is too far to cut it, ideally you should be in earlier in the morning on the amateur move. Let's see on a 3-minute chart. I can probably show you here on 3-minute chart. See what was the setup, right? So this was the setup. Big move right out of the gate. Should be should be in the trade right here. When we are breaking out here, your risk is this area, right? Or your risk is the opening price. You don't hold if the opening price, so you don't hold under the opening price. You're trading long amateur move, you trade long, that's fine, but you need to know that either you cut if it breaks the opening price, or just hold it. But anyways, so I was trading Meta because I knew it's a breakout setup, and then pushes right out of the gate, pushes to the 520. Then my other target was 522 that I gave everybody at when did I give that target? 936, right? So 936 I gave the target. And then you see that Meta was flagging. Meta was not really breaking down, it was flagging. This was a flag. You see the bottom wicks. When you see these bottom wicks, you know it's a flag. So Meta was flagging, and it did hit my 522 target. Now we need to know about the market. So you see market was failing the breakouts as well. So market was failing the breakout, so Meta would give up. So at this time, even if you traded this flag breakout for this 10 a.m., it didn't really give bigger follow through. But you see the ATR, it had already moved a lot of its ATR, and that was a big move for first half an hour. That's where you make money. Now when it's pulling back, either you cut your wherever you bought it break even, or you cut right here. I would cut right here. That's where I cut it. So you can see that I even gave the setups on the flag breakouts on Meta right here. You see the flag breakout, right? This was the flag breakout that I gave everybody, and then we pushed nice into 5250. And after that, later in the day, we were out. It did show me a bounce setup right here, 3450 bounce from 15,51530s. It did push, but it was kind of stuck here in this area. It was stuck here, right here, right? It was stuck here, and it did never broke that 1530 risk level, and then pushed higher again. Some people are swinging it, but the main trade was long. This was the long, and this was our daily breakout. If it stays strong, market stays strong, we can push back to the all-time highs. So that's not out of the question. That was a good long for us, even in this gap trade. If you remind you about the gap trade right here, it was a good long. Sorry, it was a gap. This gap was the gap to 400 that it failed. So that was a nice, I did a recap on that earlier. But anyways, that was the first trade of the morning. Meta long breakout really kind of worked out for us. So let's go to the next setup. All right, next one we're going to discuss is Amazon. If you remember yesterday's video, and we talked extensively about this Amazon breakout, and as I told you, once these breakouts happen, it's not just that one day pop and drop. It's just like Apple breakout. If you remember that Apple breakout, it's just that like Apple breakout. It was on high watch. That's what I told everybody in the pre-market. And let's see, I did cut my position middle of the day, but I did then trade it later. So let's look at what was Meta doing. So I'm not going to look at the one daily chart. I already showed you that. Let's look at the intraday levels on Amazon. So today's were 195 was our resistance pivot that we wanted to break. So it's obeying the day two. It's obeying the day two rules. You see that it's bouncing from clouds right here. So as I tell everybody to long Amazon as well, your risk is this 193 level over the clouds. So so that was our risk. Anyways, Meta was doing much better long at the open, and Amazon was nice. You know, I kind of closed after the opening move. We'll talk about the later setup, but it bounced from 3450. So that's, when 512s and 3450 are very close, it's a kind of a judgment call that you want to close it or you want to hold it. I kind of closed it. Maybe not a good execution there, because I was doing good in Meta, and the market was kind of little heavy. But anyways, I did get back later in the day. We'll talk about it. So it bounces off 3450. That's what I tell everybody. Bounced. I missed the re-add, but a lot of traders who were holding and they were trading it, I told them to hold on that, keep holding on that long. Do not cut it. So then Amazon bounces from that 194. Then we push towards 196. I gave the target of 198. So that's the target I gave. Then what happens? Let's see what happens. Then it pulls back, right? So it's pulling back. It's still holding 3450. It's still bouncing from this area, and this is where I do my second trade. You see I traded in the open, and this flag breakout. So this was a textbook flag breakout, and then it reclaimed. You see I mentioned here, reclaim the bullish 512 with the small flag. You see that, right? So that's your trade entry again. Your risk is either 195, this area. You see the candle swiping up. So if you're risking, let's say, you're risking what, $1 wherever you enter, less than $1, and you're trying to make $3-4, $2-3 at least. Or if you're in options, maybe your risk is minus 20% or something on the whatever options you're taking to make like 100%, right? So anyways, so then it was long, and again we focus on the daily chart. The Amazon is pushing. It's basically the continuation. If you do not look at that intraday chart, there's nothing wrong with it. It's higher, high, 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 high. So so you hold it. And then I said 198 is the target. I told everybody 200 calls are coming in, a lot of calls coming in. I myself traded a lot of lotos, and I told everybody throw your profits into 200 lotos, because we were long here. We pushed to 197.50, then we added the 200 lotos. Some 200 lotos were 30 cent, went as up $1.70, $1.80, and a lot of traders were trading those lotos. I myself was trading bunch of these lotos later, because I made profit by the time we pushed here. I used that profit, I threw that profit into 200 lotos, and it worked out really well for me. You can see here. So that was a good, really good trade on Amazon lotos for us. And and then tomorrow maybe we break 198, 200. You could swing some winners, back on track. I told everybody that we're back on track. So this was nice today. So we'll see what it does tomorrow. It's still holding nicely the breakout. It's still not done. If it holds, the big point to watch is we are holding the Ripster 3450 clouds. So that is important. We are holding those clouds. So if we tomorrow hold these clouds, we stay long. That's it. And so you can see my timestamp guidance, guys. Meta and Amazon, why they were a great setups on daily breakouts, why we were trading it, what was the reasoning behind this trade, and hopefully you guys can nail the next breakout. So let's go to the next one. All right, guys, next one we're going to look at SMCI. So while the other semiconductors were weak, SMCI was solid. It was a good long. I saw the strength. That's what I told everyone. We did not focus on Nvidia, but here you go. So SMCI 832 resistance, then 852 resistance. So we have these two resistance pivots, 832, and the other resistance pivot is 852. So we have these two resistance pivots, 833, 852, and I saw the strength right out of the gate, right? So that's why I said good long over our pivots. And AMD was good too, but we were more focused on SMCI because SMCI has that breakout. So I gave everybody 857 breakout on SMCI. It's a level from 2 days ago. There was a level from 2 days ago. So this was the SMCI breakout right here. And the other thing you watch here is that SMCI 1 hour was turning bullish. So once the 1 hour turns bullish over 50 EMA, that's another reason to stay long, right? And anyways, so big push, another flag, just like the how we were flagging on Amazon, big push, and that was your flag setup. You do not cut here. I mean, you have to hold something, you don't cut fully, and then, or even if you cut, you get back in when you see this midday repeatable flag setup. I call it 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. flag setup. You get back in. So you get back in that setup, and I gave everybody 880 target. I told it's holding 512s. 880 target met. I said can hold as long as 512 holds. Then my next target was 890. We met the 890 target, and I think we are swinging. A lot of traders are swinging some of that. You see, it never broke the 512s. When it never broke the 512s, I have no reason to cut it. So we're swinging some. So we'll see tomorrow. Maybe we see 900. It's just one big day. Maybe we push again towards that 966 level. So SMCI is always a big, nice play for us. So will be fun tomorrow. A lot of Friday, but you can see the timestamped guidance on SMCI. Big winner for the community. Even if you traded one lot of for 1,000, you made like 3,000 on that. All right, let's look at the next setup. I did share this setup yesterday as well, guys. These are our gap setups, right? I will share another gap setup, but right, this was nice cup and handle. I shared this. This was our swing from 300 in the community, and a lot of traders still holding that swing, but this was another setup to trade into this gap. I talked about it in the community as well. Anyways, so this was our setup, the gap setup that we were trying to trade. Let me see if I can fix this drawing here. Yeah, so we were trying to get this gap setup. Let's go back, and it also it was all on our game plan. Upgraded by gap fill trade idea. So you can see that, right? Gap long setup 326, 330. There were two levels for today, and PANW just ripped right out of the gate. Then it was flagging, pushed to 345, and you can see my timestamped guidance here. Flag breakout 340 was the first target. We met the first target. 345 was my second target. We met all the targets that I gave in the community today. So this was another repeatable target. Still, it's a good swing. Any pullbacks, definitely any pullback, hard pullback to 320 is a buy. This 335 area is a good as well. So we'll watch it what it does tomorrow. As long as holding intraday 3450 EMA Clouds, we should be fine. All right, so let's look at another trade we did in the community was JP Morgan. So why was JP Morgan running? So we always keep eyes on a lot of these news, right? So today there was a news that all the banks had the stress test. Let me check. All right, so you see that, right? XLF is basically the finance, the banks. Keep eye on the banks, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs is a downgrade, so it faded, so we ignore that. But Fed test showed that 31 large banks subject to test this year have sufficient capital, right? So I looked at all the banks and I told the community that JP Morgan is the best one to long on that news. And JP Morgan kind of worked nicely for a lot of traders in the community. Stefan did 81% on that JP Morgan. So you can see that they were pretty solid. And they were pushing, and Dow Jones was strong today, so that they were pushing. Anyways, the point is we were on the watch list. Varos was on our game plan. And our levels were clear what we were trying to trade on the banks, and provided good opportunity, good longs for a lot of traders for the 200 calls and lotos. All right, the next one we're going to look at is Boeing. So Boeing was another solid one because the reason being Boeing was over our, it was the same trade as SMCI. Even SMCI was over the 50 EMA on daily. That's why it was breaking out. And similarly, Boeing was testing both the 20 EMA and the 50 EMA on the daily charts. So that's why it was pushing in the morning. So we discussed that Boeing is a good good setup, notable strength. 180, 179 was the pullback zone over daily 50 EMA, little flag. It was pushing nicely to 183, 184, then it pulled back and bounced later. But the morning trade was definitely good from this 180s, and we can go back and see at our levels for Boeing, right? So you can see that 180.60, 182 were my two breakout levels, and that we were giving. So mainly, so it was this first level was 180.60. That was our level of importance right here. So, and you can see that where it breaks out and then it pushes higher. So Boeing was a decent trade in the community as well. All right, next one we're going to look at CHWY. So what was happening with CHWY? Let's see. Before the news came, CHWY was already on our game plan. You see, CHWY was on our game plan. 500 million repurchase of the shares. I told everyone only long if pushes over the cloud. And you see, my resistance pivot was 29.20. Support pivot was 28.60. So 29.20, there was no long because there was always under 29.20. So that was the morning on CHWY, right? Could never break that level that I gave in the morning. So it was a short. So I told everybody it's bearish from the plan. So it pops, you short versus the level I give you, you short it, that's your stops, and you trade the short. You short until the 512 Ripster Clouds curl, right? You short it, until the 512 Ripster, and that's where you exit. Now that's where the fun begins, right? So we have our news bots, which gives us pretty fast news, and CHWY had those crazy news, and it was already a lot of traders in the community. Stefan was already long on that 512 curl, and you can see that Stefan was already long on this 512 curl. This is our repeatable setup. So it was repeatable setup that we always trade in the community, where you can see that this was a 512 curl setup. So then you got lucky because the roaring kitty makes makes a tweet, puts a dog out, and crazy people, they think it's CHWY and they just get it going, right? So Stefan was on top of it, and that was a great call. And but anyways, when the news comes out, you see 101, we were right. I was on the voice and I mentioned that there's a roaring kitty news, and then you can see that right here newsbot is talking about it. It's still early, the stock is trading right here, and then the stock breaks out of my breakout level. So anyways, so right, the news comes out, I'm on the voice and we break out 29.20, and you can just scalp it. One third, one fifth size, because news trades are very risky. I personally did not take any options because options were spready, right? And the traders, I told them that 40 they can push probably to 40 on the squeeze. 40 is always a big psychological level. I scalped it long into the holds, and you see how traders were trading. Epicenter made good money there. A lot of other traders did nice trades. A 15% short, and a lot of the traders in the community, Mike did 200% on the call, and Stefan Chu did 150%. Raj Singh did 200%, right? I mean, it was opportunity. We were on the news before anyone, and not only that, I did tweet about it to my followers, and a lot of my followers made money as well. And these are, you need to know how to scalp these news trades, right? You need to know that how to utilize that, because you cannot really go big size on these kind of setups. So if you see that, right, I tweeted the roaring kitty news, and a lot of traders just I mean, it went to 40 bucks. I tweeted it like it was 30 bucks, and Ishan did 500%, Brooklyn did 280%. So these are the opportunities that we are waiting for, and being in the community and being having the play already on your plate, right? We already had CHWY in the morning, we were already trading it, traders were short, and then traders was called trading it. That's the power of the community. That's the power of the tools that I try to provide to my traders or my followers, to get most out of our trading community. So anyways, then that's what happened. And then let me see if I can show you that I then shorted it as well. 40s, I did really, you see that, right? I did a small size, I shorted it, 1500 shares, held it, and did really good. You can calculate, like when it fell $10 and it's still fading. There was no long. We were not buying it, right? We were not buying it. I told everybody I'm out. Once this happens, that's it. Leave it alone. There's no buying. It's just a FOMO trade. It's just a hype trade. This is a short of the kind of, you get this kind of trade once in few months, and you just need to take this opportunity and make best use of it. So that was CHWY, guys. Very nice trade in the community. A lot of people did really good. And yes, and hopefully we keep getting these news pops, and hopefully roaring Titi can tweet, Kitty can tweet again, and we find some more setups. Important thing is to just respect the risk, right? You can't just hold your portfolio long at this one, right? You can't just long it anywhere because it's already ran $20. So those are the things you need to understand. You need to make a judgment call. We know that how the short is to 15%, the stock is 15% short and all that. You just need to make those kind of judgment call, and then you take the trade. So next one we're going to talk about is Micron MU. So let's look at Micron. So Micron was, in the morning I was short right out of the gate, but then I got out. I was starter size, short starter, and then it was chopping. It came back, I short here, right here, came back over the clouds. Then I'm not really interested because I know it will chop me. So I got out. It's just a little loss, took the loss, and on a small size, but that's it. I was not interested, but a lot of traders were trading it. Lots of traders were long. I strictly told them, do not hold the longs if 134 breaks. You can see there, right? Cutting the starter short, cutting the starter. If 134 breaks, we'll add back short again, right? So that is the range. 134 was the buyer versus 134 is B minus, right? And still 134 stops, and for the longs. But once 134 gone, that's it. I had no position, and that's a short, and a lot of traders were short. And then you short it from this break right here, 134, and right all the way down to pre-market lows, right? So it was bearish. I told everyone if breaks 134 can add puts, right? So that's where I told everybody 1034. That was my idea at 1034 to add the puts, and then it broke here and then it faded, right? And then I told everybody to cover when it calls the 512s, and then it ran up as well. I kind of scalped end of the day as well on this short, right? So these are the setups: short here, short here, short here, short here. You don't have to short the morning amateur move because it's not giving you the entry. It's not letting you go. But we can also see that there were sellers right here, sellers right here. So there was a lot of selling here. That was another thing. But our short becomes more better later end of the day, and you can see this whole way came down. So that was MU. I didn't really do much. I didn't short this. I had a morning loser. I scalped some in the end, but that was MU. So understand, this is not the first time this action happened. Tomorrow there'll be another gap down and it will do the same thing. So you just need to remember the personalities of what stocks do. All right, let's look at another one. Was today AVAV. So AVAV was on the game plan. I was focused on the meta, but let's see here. AVAV. It's 57% drop in fourth quarter earnings, bearish to neutral. 178 is a support pivot, 182 is the resistance, 186 resistance. So as soon as it break out of the gate, it's a short. You just short it, right? You just short it, and you stay short until you curl here. So wherever you short here, right? Higher you short, the better. The lower you short, it's a problem. So you short anywhere from 174 to 162. That's a $10 drop, right? So there's a lot of opportunity to make money. And then you get out here. 512 curls, and you long it here. I usually alert the longs on, I was not focusing, so I kind of, missed that curl, but, but the traders were still trading the curl, right? So Dutchy was short, our RPA was short, Seymour for short. So they were all kind of short, and when it started to curl, then a lot of traders curled, right? So that was the curl setup. And look at the curl, 512 curl, and all the way to 176. Look at this bounce, right? And now we watch it because this hammer is very impressive. So it's a high watch tomorrow for a continuation to the upside to fill the gap. Or if it breaks under 176, we short it again. So we'll see what happens here. But you can see the power of the system. 512 curls, beautiful bounce. All right, let's look quickly on a few game plan plays. IP was on the game plan. Let's see, our game plan was saying IP was the game plan was long if 41 holds and our 39.42, and then it was long right out of the gate, right? It's over the clouds, pull back, you can add here, and your risk is right under the clouds, like 40-50 cents, and then you can scalp dollar 50. So gap down. Once it's the gap down is over the clouds, you do not short it. Tomorrow we can watch it what it does. A low ATR stock. All right, so next one we're going to look at is PDD. So what's PDD doing? So PDD was a short today. Why was it a short? So PDD was a short because PDD was, it was on our watch list today. Let's see right here. Amazon to start direct shipping from China. So that's a problem for PDD because a competitor. So you see that because PDD is also an e-commerce platform, right? So it affects it. So I told everybody to trade versus a cloud. The support resistance is 130, support pivot is 135, and resistance was right here at, you can see that 136.50. So you see that it could never ever get over 136.50, right? That's what resistance I gave you, and then it breaks this. So once it breaks that, it's a short. You trade short with the system, and then it faded $4 today. So that was, my friends, the trade on PDD, and that's how you trade these setups, right? You look at it, and it's under 50 EMA. The 10-minute is bearish, and I'm sure 1 hour is bearish, and all those are bearish. So that's how you trade that. Breakdown of these levels and then fade. Beautiful short, beautiful winner. So let's look at another setup today was Adobe. So Adobe, I had set some price alerts on Adobe. You see that 537 coming in because Adobe was a setup, again, a gap setup. You see that, right? 537, my price alert goes at 537. I tell everybody to look at the chart. It's a gap trade, and so it's just gonna keep pushing since the price alert, and you can see it, it kept pushing. So a lot of traders were trading. Randy was long on Adobe. You see that beautiful trade by Randy, Mike, Lexi, Booty, Lucy. A lot of traders were. So that was our Adobe trade in the community. This is what we're going to discuss in our market analysis next, and look at that. All right, let's now look at the market. I just don't want to talk about SPY QQQ. I already discussed it yesterday. I just want to discuss the rotation into the cloud stocks. Right, we talked about it yesterday as well, and today we saw that, right? So I maintain a list of the cloud stocks right here. So starting from CRM, another gap trade, you see that, right? So you long it right here, use the intraday 10-minute clouds to long it. Then you look at Okta, which was also breaking down. You will see that all of these setups are same. They're beaten down. They're trying to come back. Okta has this nice, nice base right here that is trying to come out of, that we're talking about. You see, nice base that we are trying to curl out of. So that's Okta. And then we have of course PLTR was strong. Snow, we talked about it yesterday as well, that Snow is super strong. And all this Snow was also our day 2 winner. Snow, we have it on our day 2 setup. I talk about Snow every day, and that was there. And then you can see Doku had strength, D-Dog. I always talk about D-Dog and MDB. You see that rotation, and you see what I discussed yesterday. And then you see from semis, we are going into these names. There's a lot of nice charts which still have a lot of room. You can clearly see that now is trying to get out of this this setup. The rotation in the cloud is happening right now. So then there was Workday, which was also a similar setup that we have talked about. It's one of our chart ideas from the community. There was a team, Twilio filled the gap. There are more names, but these are the 15 which are the top names that I focus on. And VIX is also setting up nicely here for the the curl. So we'll see how that goes. You see, and I mean, I have another big watch list for cloud computing, but we can look at them, right? So some smaller names like CFLT, FSLY, Zscaler. We also already talked about the other names, ANAT. It includes all the cloud and SaaS, the software names. So you see that they are coming, money is flowing into them. So we can definitely find some opportunities there. You should review your charts and see what and how, which chart looks how, and trade those. So just wanted to talk about that. Hopefully you guys made some money. I discussed the clouds yesterday. Hopefully you took some of those trades: Adobe, CRM, Snow, whichever, MDB, and I think also Zscaler. So you see that a lot of money flowing in these software names, cyber tech names, PNW, and other names. So I have a cyber sector here as well. So so you can see that most of the cyber was strong today. CrowdStrike, Cybernight Breakout, Okta, PNW, which again they fall into the same sector of SaaS and cloud names. Sentinel was strong, so you can see the strength across the board into these two sectors. All right, guys, that was it for today. Take care. See you guys tomorrow.